In the last devlog, we talked about how the water in my bushcraft themed survival game went from this to this. I thought I was pretty happy with this, but whilst it looks pretty good, there were things that were bothering me. As I mentioned, this is a game where you will be walking along an infinite coastline, primarily surviving off of the bounty of the ocean, so I really wanted to get the feeling of the ocean right. And this still just felt not quite there. The biggest problem I think is that although this is all generated procedurally with random noise, it feels very homogeneous. This is just one chunk, but we would get this same basic pattern repeating along the shoreline with not really any variation. So with quite a few tweaks, I ended up here. Basically, I was generating some random noise for every chunk, and I had what I thought was the clever idea of basically just taking noise from other chunks and using that noise to modify the noise in this chunk. And basically by combining these two sets of noise, we get a lot more variation. You now get these sections that can push really far inland, so when the tide is high around noon, you have to walk quite a way through much shallower water before you get to the deep stuff. But later, or earlier in the day, the tide will be much further out and closer to the deep water drop-off. And there are a couple more things to notice here too. I've added in these procedurally generated rocks, which add a bit of variation to the coastline, and later will serve a gameplay purpose. And I've also modified the water shader to detect these rocks, which gives them a bit of depth as the water seems to sort of wrap around it a bit, rather than just going over the top of it completely. Another thing that is quite obvious to notice is that I've also added in a day-night cycle with special effects for sunrise and sunset. Once you start swimming, as in when your legs no longer touch the ground, you'll start getting affected by random ocean currents that will push you in various directions for various lengths of time. I'm not swimming in any direction right now, but I am still getting pushed by the current. If the current happens to be pushing you out deeper into the ocean, it can be quite tricky to get back. This will tie in with gameplay mechanics later when you have a limited amount of energy and the ability to improve your swimming skills. I've also added an infinite ocean, so you can just keep on swimming deeper and deeper forever. There isn't any reason to do this now, but later I will likely add something like coral reefs out further that will balance the risk of swimming out into the deep ocean with potential rewards. If I zoom super far out and speed up the player, you can see that I've also now got infinite chunk generation working in general, not just for the ocean. Also, whilst we are zoomed out like this, if I set the time to morning and speed up the game time 10 times, you can get a good sense of how the tide changes over the day and how much variation we get along the coastline with the new approach. And one last change, I also added the ability to toggle the zoom level between 1 and 2 by hitting the Z key. So it's been around 2 months of working on this ocean and shoreline now, so hopefully I can actually pull myself away from it and work on other things. Like adding fish, which I guess is still technically working on the ocean, but at least now it will be for an actual gameplay mechanic purpose. This might seem like a lot of polish for a game with basically no other content at this point, but I think this ocean and shoreline in a sense is the game. If I can't make it enjoyable in its own right, then I don't think just adding more gameplay mechanics and content is going to lead me down the path to the game I actually want to be making. My goal here really is that this is sort of a relaxing walking simulator first and a casual survival game second. Getting the general look and feel right is the most important factor for me. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts whether you like the direction this is going in or not. And if you feel like leaving a like or subscribe before you go, that would be greatly appreciated.